You hatch from an egg somewhere in the mangroves of Southeast Asia, and the current pulls you sideways before you can control your own body. You right yourself and push toward the surface where the roots hang above you, with dozens of your siblings breaking free around you at the same time. But within minutes, they scatter in every direction, and then you're alone. You need to eat, so when a water flea drifts past your face, you snap at it, but your jaw closes on nothing. You try again, this time adjusting your angle slightly and it goes down. That's your first meal, but before you can look for another, a larger fish pushes through the roots with its body cutting straight toward the hatchlings nearby. So you press flat against a root and stay still. The fish moves through and disappears further into the roots. You come back out and find another water flea drifting just below the surface, and you take it cleanly this time. Then you notice something above the water. A small fly lands on the underside of a leaf just above the surface, and something in you responds to it immediately. You angle your body upward and push a jet of water from your mouth, but it barely reaches the surface, and the fly stays where it is. You try again with more force, and the stream breaks through the surface but curves away from the leaf. The fly leaves on its own. You haven't worked out how to do it yet, but you already know that the food above the water is worth going after. For now, you stay near the roots, taking water fleas and tiny larvae from the water around you. But the surface above is where the larger food is, and sooner or later you'll figure out how to reach it. You're a few weeks old now, and you've been practicing the shot every time something lands above the water. Most of them still miss, but the gap between where the stream goes and where you want it to go is getting smaller. Then one morning, a moth lands on a root just above the surface, close enough that you don't need much force or height. You angle your body up, push a short burst of water from your mouth, and the moth drops straight down. You take it before it stops moving. That's the first clean hit you've made, and it's enough to keep you trying. But the roots are full of other archerfish doing the same thing, and they've all been practicing longer than you have. You line up a beetle sitting on the underside of a leaf and fire, hitting it cleanly, but a larger archerfish is already moving before it lands and gets there first. So you adjust your position, moving further along the root to a stretch where the others aren't covering, and you wait. A small fly lands on a branch just above, and you fire again with your body angled slightly further back to get more height. The stream catches the fly and drops it into the water in front of you, and this time nothing else is close enough to take it. You eat it and hold your position. The other archerfish are working the same branches from different angles, and every insect that lands gets taken fast. You're getting accurate enough to compete, but accuracy alone isn't the whole problem. The other fish already know which branches get the most insects and when, and you're still working that out. But the roots won't hold you much longer, and the open water past the mangrove edge is where the larger insects land. You're a few months old now, and you've pushed out past the mangrove roots and into the open stretch of water just beyond the edge. The branches here sit higher above the surface, so you need more force behind every shot, and the first few attempts fall short, and the insects fly away. You pull back, go deeper in the water to get a longer angle, and fire again with everything you have. The stream reaches the branch this time and clips a grasshopper on the leg, sending it spinning, but not dropping it cleanly. It holds on. You try once more from the same depth, and this time the stream hits the body directly, so the grasshopper drops and lands on the surface. You get there first and take it. Then a gray heron walks along the bank, with its legs moving slowly through the shallows and its eyes aimed at the water in front of it. It stops just past the branch you've been targeting and stands still. You drop lower in the water and pull back toward the roots. Another archerfish doesn't move fast enough, staying out in the open, and the heron's beak drives down and pulls it clear of the surface. You stay behind the roots with your body low and your position covered until the heron walks further down the bank and goes around a bend. You wait a bit longer, then come back out. The branch above is still producing, and a large moth has landed on the underside of a leaf at the far end. You angle deep, build your shot, and fire. The moth drops. You take it and pull back toward the roots straight after, keeping the distance between yourself and the open bank. The heron showed you exactly where not to be. But the open water further out is where the biggest insects fall, and at some point the food there will be worth the risk. You're 6 months old now, and you've started moving further out from the mangrove edge and into the open estuary, where the branches hang higher and the insects are larger than anything you've found near the roots. The first time you try a shot from out here, the stream falls short by a full body length, so you go deeper, angle back further, and build more pressure before releasing. The stream reaches the branch this time and knocks a dragonfly clean off its perch. You get to it before anything else does. But there's another archerfish working the same stretch, slightly bigger than you, and it's been out here longer. It positions itself downstream from you so that anything you knock down drifts toward it with the current before you can reach it. You adjust by moving upstream, but it follows, keeping the same gap between you. You fire at a large beetle on a low branch and hit it cleanly, but the other fish is already moving before it lands and gets there first. So you turn toward it, push your body between it and the branch, and fire at the next insect the moment it lands. You reach that one first. The other archerfish holds its position for a moment, then pulls back and moves to a different part of the estuary. You stay where you are and take the next 3 insects from the same branch without anything cutting across you. You've held the stretch, but the edge edge between your water and the other fish's water isn't fixed, and it will get tested again. The dry season hasn't started yet, and right now there's enough space for both of you. But when the water drops and the estuary shrinks, every archerfish out here will get pushed into the same narrow channel. You're 1 year old now, and the water level has been dropping for weeks. The branches you've been targeting in the estuary are lower than before, and the stretch of open water you've been using has narrowed down to a channel barely wide enough for 3 fish across. A dozen other archerfish are already packed into it, along with catfish working the bottom and mullet pushing through the middle, so there's almost no space to fire without another fish moving through your line. You hold your position near the edge of the channel and wait, watching the branches above for anything that lands close enough to take without needing a long shot. A moth drops onto a leaf just above the waterline, low enough that you don't need height or force, so you fire once and take it before anything else reacts. You eat 2 more insects the same way over the next stretch of time, picking off whatever lands close rather than competing for the higher branches. Then the water drops another few centimeters, and the leaf you've been using is sitting in the water, so you move further up the channel. The channel narrows again past the bend, and the other archerfish follow the same path. You're all getting pushed closer together, and the insects above aren't landing any more often, just because the fish below are packed in tighter. Then something large moves through the mullet near the middle of the channel, scattering them sideways. It passes through fast and disappears around the bend ahead. You don't know what it was, but it was bigger than anything that's come through the channel before, and it wasn't after insects. The water level is still dropping, and whatever came through will come back through the same channel again. You're 2 years old now, and the wet season has returned, so the water has risen back up, and the estuary has opened out again. You move back into your stretch and start working the branches above, and the first week back out in open water, you take more insects per day than you managed in the whole final stretch of the dry season. Then one morning, a crocodile pulls itself out of the water and onto the bank, settling on the mud about 4 body lengths from the branch you've been using all morning. It doesn't move toward the water. It just sits there with its body flat and its head still. You drop lower in the water and hold your position, watching it from below the surface. You need to eat, but the branch is too close to where it's sitting, so you pull back and look for another position further down the estuary. You find a low branch around the bend with a large dragonfly sitting on the underside, and you angle back, build your shot, and fire. The dragonfly drops, and you take it cleanly. You work that branch for the rest of the morning, staying away from the stretch near the crocodile. Then in the afternoon, you move back toward your original spot, and the crocodile is gone, so you go back to the branch above and pick up where you left off. You've learned to read where it rests and time your movement around it, but the estuary has more than one, and the others don't always sit in the same place twice. As you get bigger, you're spending more time out in the open water, which means you're also spending more time in the same water as the things that want to take you. You're 3 years old now, and a rival archerfish has moved into the far end of your stretch. It's your size, and just as accurate, but it uses a different method, wading lower in the water and firing at a steeper angle so it can hit branches you can't reach from your usual position. You watch it take 3 insects in a row from a branch you've been trying to work all morning, so you move further along the estuary to find a spot it isn't covering. You find a cluster of low branches around a bend where the water sits just below the overhang, and you work it steadily, taking beetles and flies from the underside of the leaves. Then the rival follows you around the bend and sets up on the other side of the same cluster. You fire at a large moth the moment it lands, but the rival fires at the same time from its angle, and both streams hit the moth together, so it drops but lands between you. You both move toward it at the same time, and you get there first, but only just. The rival holds its position on the other side of the cluster. You fire next at a beetle on the far side of the overhang, which is closer to the rival's angle than yours, and you miss. The rival takes it easily, so you adjust, pulling back to the near side of the cluster where your angle is stronger, and you take the next 4 insects without the rival being able to compete for them. By the end of the morning, you've worked out which parts of the cluster belong to you and which ones the rival will always beat you to. The 2 of you stay on opposite sides without crossing into each other's range. But the wet season brings more fish into the estuary every week, and the cluster won't stay divided between just the 2 of you for long. You're 4 years old now, and the estuary has more fish in it than you've ever seen. You've moved further out from the cluster and into a wide bend where the branches hang lower and the water sits deep below them, giving you enough distance to build a full shot with maximum force. You've been working a single long branch all morning, taking beetles, flies, and a large grasshopper from different points along its length, and nothing has come close enough to compete with you for it. Then you line up a dragonfly sitting at the very end of the branch, the furthest point you've ever tried to reach. You go deep, angle your body back as far as it will go, and build the shot for longer than usual. The stream fires out and curves up in a long arc, and it catches the dragonfly dead on. It drops toward the water. You're already moving toward the spot where it will land. You don't see the crocodile. It has been sitting just below the surface at the edge of the bend with only its eyes above the waterline, and it has been watching you work the branch for most of the morning. The moment you move out into open water to reach the dragonfly, it pushes off the bottom and covers the distance before you can turn. Its jaws close around your body with the dragonfly still drifting down toward the surface above you. The crocodile pulls you under and moves back toward the bank. The dragonfly lands on the water and sits there. The branch above keeps dropping insects into the bend, one after another, with nothing left below to take them.